All right, back in the basement again today to talk about these Bells of Steel machined plates. This is going to be more of a general overview and my impressions on them after having owned them for a couple of weeks because I only own the 245-pound set. So that means I have a pair of 45s, 35s, 25s, 10s, 5s, and 2.5s. It's going to be hard for me to give you input like how would a 600-pound deadlift feel or sound with these as compared to some of the other plates that I have, but I still think it's going to be worth your while to watch this video if you're interested in buying these particular plates. Now, if you're not familiar with Bells of Steel, you should be. I've talked about them on this channel a couple of times, but they're a Canadian-based company with sites in both Canada and the United States as well. They're tending to be a more budget-friendly option, but they have some very nice products that they sell, especially their Bare Naked Power Bar, which I think is one of the best bangs for your buck for powerlifting barbells out there. And it was really interesting to see these new plates released, which are machined. You don't see a ton of machined plates come out necessarily, although as of late there have been some, like the Strength Co plates I just purchased, the Rogue Deep Dish plates as well, and you have kind of the legacy plates from both, York, Ivanko, as well as some other ones from Troy. But for me, machine plates are the best value and best plates to get for most people. I've done a whole series on this, but to kind of give you the too long didn't read option, they're not as expensive as some other plates out there, yet what they're paying for is some of the accuracy and the tolerances of the weight. So they're extremely accurate, they fit on the bar very well, and they don't take up a lot of real estate for the most part on a sleeve, which I can really appreciate. So for me, machine plates are the way to go for most people, if you have the budget, of course. Now, speaking of budget, as I mentioned, Bells of Steel is typically a budget-friendly option. The machine plates are going to be on the more expensive side of what they offer. For a pair of 45-pound plates, you're looking at roughly $200. The nice thing is, if you're here in the States, they have free shipping on all of this, so you're not going to pay shipping on any of that. And they do have some plate packages as well, like the 245-pound set, all the way up to sets that include 10 45s as well. And the more you buy, the more money you're going to save, which isn't always the case on some of the other plates out there, as they're not selling them in sets currently. Bells of Steel is, and they're all in stock, or at least at the time of this video. Now, as far as the look, the aesthetic of these goes, I'm kind of conflicted on this because generally the look of them are very similar to the Strength Co plates that I love so much. The 4-spoke design, the thin profile at about 1.2 inches in width. They look good in terms of the design. I mean, fairly standard Bells of Steel up here, established 2010, the weight right there. My big issue with them, why I'm not in love with them, however, is the finish. So one of the big reasons I love the Strength Co is because they have an E-coat finish in black. It looks super sharp. It matches my gym perfectly, which might not be a big selling point for you. But this gray hammer tone powder coat that they use on these plates, I just don't like it, especially because there's no contrast on the plate whatsoever. It reminds me of like a concrete color, which if you're buying a higher end plate, which in my opinion a machine plate is, I would just like to see something different. Even if there's some kind of contrast or a different shade of gray, I think that would go a long way in making these more appealing to me. Now, truth be told, I know that doesn't matter to a lot of people, but these are just my general impressions and overall review. As I said, these look very similar in design to the Strength Co plates I have. One of the biggest differences, however, which I think might be a plus for many of you, is the lip on these plates is thinner than you find on the Strength Co. So the Strength Co one's a little bit over an inch. These ones are a little bit under an inch. So if that's important to you, these might be up your alley. Now, I mentioned the contrast thing already, that these things are kind of plain and kind of weird looking to me. It's a very simple fix, which I'll be highlighting in a new video coming up, but you could just take like a Sharpie paint pen and add some color to these like I've done to my 35s. And it's a nice, cheap, easy way to kind of differentiate them and also give them a little pop of color if you're trying to color coordinate them to your gym, or you just don't like the plain gray look that all of these plates have. Now, in terms of the specs, like I said, these are machined, so they should be fairly accurate, which means the bigger plates, the 45s, 35s, and 25s are all listed at within plus or minus 2% tolerance. So think about like on a 45-pound plate, the least it should weigh is like 44.1, the most it should weigh is like 45.9. Because I only have a single pair of all these, I measured the bigger plates and they're all well within tolerance. In fact, one of them is almost right on the money at like 44.95 pounds. The other one is a little bit under 44.5. The other plates I measured again were right within line of what they said. When you take a look at the change plates, there's a little bit more tolerance, but that's not going to matter as much because you're not dealing with as much weight. But again, these are within the stated tolerances, which I really, really like. Now, when you take a look at the center hole, which is also machined for a better fitment on the bar, so you don't get all that slop that you might find with some of those other cast iron plates, they're listed here at 50.5 millimeters, which is actually the same specs as my Strengthco plates. But just from my use of these, I find that these are a little bit more loose than the Strengthco is. And I should get a pair of calipers and measure, but just based off my own use case and looking at the sleeve after where the Strengthco plates are leaving marks because the actual E-coat's rubbing off, I haven't had that issue necessarily with these bells of steel ones, which kind of further cements the fact that these are a little bit looser than maybe that they're stated, or maybe the Strengthco ones are a little bit tighter than they are. Either way, the Strengthco ones fit much better on a plate. If I had more of these and was able to do some deadlifts with them, with let's say like 4, 5, 6 plates aside, I think I could be able to show that because these are a little bit looser, they may be a little bit louder. But that being said, they're still a great fitment compared to your normal cast iron plates. Now, taking a look at the rest of the line, the only really things that call out to me are the 2.5s on these seem very, very small. In fact, they're about the same size as the 1.25 pound plates that I have. And I'll show you a comparison between these 2.5 pound plates versus the Strengthco ones. They seem oddly small, but they weigh 2.5 pounds, which is all you can really ask for. I just found that that was kind of interesting, or a weird feature or quirk, if you will. But overall, for the price, I think these are a good bang for your buck, especially when you're taking a look at the shipping. So I mentioned as you buy more sets, the price comes down, but also Bells of Steel always offers free shipping, at least within the United States, that you're really gonna save some value on. One of the downsides for Strengthco is the shipping tends to be overly expensive. You're talking a couple of $100 as you add more and more weights. For this, you could be looking at, a complete set of 1045s and a pair of everything else down there. And I think that retails for like right at $1,300, and that's with shipping included. So it helps knock off some of that cost if you're comparing plates across the board. Now, in my previous videos, I talked about how I'm looking to really keep the main stalwarts of my gym made in USA where I can. That's not to say I'm not going to have imported stuff in my gym, and I call that out because these are actually imported plates. These ones in particular are made in Vietnam. It's stamped right on the box, but overall, very high quality for the most part. I did notice some finishing issues across a lot of these plates, and I only have a pair of each, so I think that might be expected. But again, because you're saving more than some other machine plates, it might be an equal trade-off for you if you're just looking to save some money and some of these things don't bother you, which to me they shouldn't, because again, the accuracy of the plates are still there. But again, I already mentioned how they're not visually appealing to me, so just keep that in mind. Overall though, if you're interested in machine plates, you wanna save some money, you're looking for something that's in stock, these could be a good option for you. I will link these in the description box below. If you have any questions that I wasn't able to answer, please make sure you leave them in the comment section. I'll get back to you. But in the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.